Greetings, scholars. I hope everyone is staying warm in these freezing temperatures. Just wanted to touch base a little bit over the activities and things for this week. So, as the announcement said, we are proceeding as normal. I'm just going to touch on a few issues, some key points from each chapter, and also update you to make sure we're all on the same page. So, let's get started. Where are we standing right now? So we're at 130 points. So look at your points in Canvas, measure your points against 130 to see exactly where you stand. Always keep in mind, don't look at the percentage, look at the point. And again, look at your total points right now divided against 130. Next week is test one, chapters 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. You need a green Scantron and a number 2 pencil. There's going to be 50 questions. Not all of them are measurable. So you have a few question buffer there. So if you don't get all 50 right, it's still possible to get 100%. You have a study guide that's posted in the files folder within Canvas. And also remember the first career planning and placement event is due by February 12th. Of course, you do not have to wait until that day to submit it. You can submit it as soon as you go to an event, which is what I would recommend. The submission link is in Canvas under assignments. So make sure you are staying up to date and paying attention to that. Any questions, feel free to send us an email. We get back to you as soon as possible. So, chapter 5, we're starting to get into our concentration. So, we're going to start with management, go to supply chain, and come back to management with some more information. So, chapter 5 is our first introduction to it. This chapter goes over the nature of management, the 4 basic functions, depending on who you talk to. They may add a 5th function in there, but consistently you'll see authors refer to the 4 functions of management. Also, the different types of managers to be found in the organization, the different skills and roles that are required of managers, and then importance of strategic management and effective goal setting. So definitely want to touch on the 4 functions of management. So management is a process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling an organization's resources to achieve its goals. Those 4 functions, starting with planning, should be first, right? You want to determine what the goals are, develop a strategy to achieve those goals, but also discuss the tactical and operational plans that are necessary to implement the strategy. So we don't want to just come up with a goal. We actually want to think the whole goal through. Because we have a goal without a plan, we're simply dreaming or wishing. So we want to think everything through. Of course, you can't make a concrete plan to achieve it, but you can think through a lot of issues. So think about the obstacles you're going to encounter and how you can combat them. So don't just have a plan, or don't just have a goal. You want to have a plan to achieve that goal as well. Next is organizing. So the process of determining how best to arrange an organization's resources. When we talk about resources, we have to consider everything: equipment, supplies, money, but also the people. How are you going to organize the people into a structure that is conducive to the success of the organization? One of the key ways to do that is by using an organization chart. Also, leading, so process of guiding and motivating employees to meet an organization objectives. Leading is not just giving orders and demanding results. When we think about leading, the key words are guiding, motivating, you're empowering, you are equipping your team with the tools they need to be successful. That could be physical tools, it could be mental tools, right? That whole motivational part. It's just inspiring them and making them want to come back to work and work towards your goals. And then lastly is controlling. When we initially hear controlling, a lot of times people have a negative, or they associate it with a negative connotation. They don't have a positive thought process on it. I guess what I'm trying to say. So controlling, but controlling is just ensuring that the work is getting done, right? You want to make sure that that the goals that you have set out are that you're working towards those. So that plan that you created, are you actually working on that plan? Are things going as planned? A key word for controlling is going to be monitoring. You want to monitor the progress. How are things looking? When it comes to this process, you have decisions. After you start monitoring and you're getting results, are things going as planned? Great, keep going. Are things not going as planned? Well, if they're not, we need to make an adjustment. So that adjustment can either be the standard, meaning we need to go back and change the plan, or it can be the performance. The performance is the individual, the team that is actually doing this. Why are they not meeting the goal? Do they need to be retrained? Are they don't have all the tools they need? Are they underperforming? So many things come into play here. Oftentimes we see managers just blame the performance, meaning they're blaming the team or the employee that's doing it and saying where they're just not working hard enough. And where sometimes that may be true, that should not be the go-to of a good manager. A good manager is going to really dig in to ascertain why are we not meeting our goal. Is the standard too high, or do we not have the necessary tools? So it's just some things to think about there. Jumping through the rest of the chapter, the 3 levels of management. This is a good slide to look at: top, middle, first line. First line doesn't sound like it's a high level position, but it is. A middle manager may not sound like a high level position, but it is, because this is someone that's reporting directly to a top level manager. So these are division heads, plant managers. They're often responsible for an entire unit or department. So they have many people working under them. And then under middle manager will be first line managers. Jumping ahead, some good information here as far as the skills that managers need. The technical skills to build the ability to actually do the job. So I know there's often times where you have examples where you may have a supervisor manager who does not know how to do what you're actually doing. Oftentimes that creates frustration and creates a little hostility within the workplace, because why are they the manager if they don't know how to do your job? So the technical skills, the ability to do the job. All managers need human relation skills, right? How to get along with other people. Can you play well in a sandbox with the other kids? Everyone needs to be able to get along, regardless of their position, get along with other people. Conceptual skills, you're thinking ahead, abstract, long term. You're not thinking about tomorrow, you're thinking about the next 5 years. Decision-making skills, that is always important, the ability to actually make a decision. Think about if you ever had a manager that always comes to you and asks you what they should do or what you think the best course of action is. Again, it's another source of frustration. This is someone that is supposed to be mentoring, guiding, and coaching you, but yet they're often referring to you because they're unable to make a decision on their own. So as you continue to read chapter 5, you also look at goals, strategies to reach those goals, the different types of goals, etc. And jumping into chapter 6, we're thinking about organizing a business. The things that it's going to focus on are the factors that influence a firm's organizational structure, specialization and departmentalization as two of the building blocks of that structure, centralization versus decentralization, what's the difference there, how does information flow within each one of those organizations. So let's take a look at a few things here. Your structure, specification of the jobs to be done within an organization and the ways in which they relate to one another. So we have an example here of an org chart. We have just some pretty basic things here, but you want to think about what does this tell you about the organization. It tells you, right, what the titles are, who the managers are, right, who's at the top. So this is your typical org structure here. It also shows you how the positions relate to one another. So you have a retail manager, a nursery manager, and a landscape operations manager. So all of those managers are at the same level. They just have different specialties. But then they also have people who work under them, and some of those positions may be similar as well. Making it personal, let's look at the Mike Ilitch School of Business org chart. Again, at the top here, you'll see our dean, Dr. Robert Forsyth. And then you'll notice a few things here. Right, this dotted line here, but then this solid line here. Think about that. Think about what that means. We could talk about this next week to see what your interpretations are. But more importantly, look at what's coming from under here. So everyone within the School of Business reports to the dean. We have 2 associate deans. This is out of date, but they haven't updated it yet. So this is actually Dr. Bertie Greer. Dr. Tony Summers is there as well. But from here, Dr. Summers oversees all of the faculty. So you can see all of the chairs from each of the departments. So finance, management, information systems. This is actually my chair, Dr. Christine Jackson. Accounting, and then also marketing and supply chain. So just as a word of wisdom, if you ever have any issues with faculty, things, a lot of times students want to go directly to the dean, which is your choice, but if you want to get the best response, you probably should start with the chair. This is a person that works directly with the faculty, right? They often assign their schedules, they know what classes they teach. So for instance, if there was an issue with me that you weren't happy with one of my responses and you went straight to the dean may not know what I teach. They may not know what sections I have. So the best response will be my chair, again, Dr. King Jackson. Again, this is the person that makes my schedule, manages my schedule, etc. So they're more in tune with me. Of course, it's your right, but just keep those things in mind if that need arises. Hopefully it doesn't. So let's take a look at this for example. So job specialization, we have 5 different options here: is framing, siding, painting, inspection, shipping. What you want to think about are what are the benefits that come along with job specialization, and what are the downsides. So some of the benefits are you have someone who only focuses on framing, likely they'll be very good at their job. Hopefully they'll be very good at their job. So you get subject matter experts when you have job specialization because they're trained on one thing, they've been doing it for a while, so that their expertise grows, their efficiency grows. Again, that's the thought process. A downside to this may be that's all they know how to do. So what happens in the event that you don't need anyone for framing? Siding's backed up. Well, your framer may not be able to help because they're so specialized in what they do, they're unable to move into a different area, which can cause an increase in the error rate, malfunctions, etc. So sometimes that highly specialized work group is limited on what they can do. Departmentalization, so just looking at how organizations are structured. So an example here, but let's dive into these. So departmentalization is grouping jobs into logical units. So that can be by the product, the process, the function, the customer group they serve, or where they're geographically located. That's one of the easiest ways to look at a departmentalization is where you located. These benefits that come along with departmentalization is they're treated as their own profit center. So you can see which one of those units is costing more money or is making more money. So it breaks it down and gives you a lot more detail. So just some examples here. Product departmentalization, that is very common. So dividing the work based on the product that's being made. You think about automobile companies, most of their plants are focused on maybe 1 or 2 products that are made there, and they have other plants that focus on other products. So that's a good example of things being broken down by the product. Geographic, again, where you're located, that's pretty easy to determine. Or customer group, so who are you servicing? You can think about maybe an airline company that may have a customer service line. They may have a group that focuses solely on their loyalty members, and they may even break it down for like the highest loyalty level. And then they may have a line just for any general customer. So they're focusing their efforts based on those different customer groups. And just fast forwarding here, this is an example of a decentralized organization. It's more flat, it's longer. Your span of control refers to the number of people that report to one manager. And then you have your centralized structure, which is taller. There's your more typical structure. There's more layers. It's more bureaucratic. And again, span of control talks about how many people report to one manager. You'll continue to read about span of control, delegation, how do you delegate work, and different forms of authority within Chapter 6. And that will do it for this week. So stay warm. Don't forget your homework and your quizzes. They're posted. Your study guides posted as well. And I will see you guys next week.